Hello and welcome to the Musical Instrument Investigator. Today we're on the website of Great Western Auctions based in the UK, and we're going to have a look at one of their latest auctions. Now this auction is a kind of general sale. It has lots of different stuff, collectibles, etc. But there are some musical instruments in this sale, and I've selected the music and musical instruments tab here. There's about 50 or so instruments. There are some records and things I will ignore, but in terms of actual instruments I think it's just about 50 or just under, so I thought it would be interesting to have a look at this particular auction. It is finishing on the 28th of February, which is tomorrow, so not long left to look at it. I'll put a link in the description as always so you can check it out. Looks like the buyer's premium is, depending if you buy like in person or online, it's somewhere between 28.8% and 31.8%, so fairly high depending on how you are bidding. So just to remind you, this is a UK based auction, so if you're outside of the UK then bear in mind import, export fees, shipping, all of that kind of fun stuff. Might be some CITES restrictions, etc. Just before we get going, it's going to be a quick video, but if you do enjoy these videos, please consider subscribing, like, comment, turn on notifications, all of that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, without further ado, I think let's just let's see what we've got and see what kind of pictures and other details that we have. So first kind of musical instrument here is a Yamaha acoustic guitar, model F370. Estimates 50 to 70. I might just zoom out a tiny bit here to make it a little bit easier to see all in one. So nothing too crazy there, to be honest. Moving on, we've got a Hackstrom 12 string here. Is this a kind of original 70s-ish one, or is this a more modern reissue? Kind of inclined to think it might be an old one, but I'm not particularly well versed with these, but it does look like it's an older one. I presume 70s or maybe a bit later. If anyone knows about these, please do say. Looks kind of fairly good condition, 3 to 500 there. It's got its serial number. A Gibson, interesting, a Gibson J160E there. Estimate is 2 to 3,000, so fairly substantial instrument there. Quite a number of pictures as well. Let's have a quick look at the blurb there. Serial number 890922, circa 1969. Okay, guitar is second hand. A few other kind of bits and pieces here, so you can have a look at that in your own leisure. Encore JSH acoustic. I don't think we need to look at that. This is quite curious. A parade marching drum, which I always find quite interesting. Some of this stuff, £5 to £40. That's quite a curious estimate there. It seems to say Hardy Centenary on the actual drum. Not a lot of information there, but yeah, quite curious. I do quite like some of this old kind of marching drum or militaria kind of music stuff. It's pretty cool. A couple of kalimbas here. Once again, 50 to 40. Interesting estimate. So, treble kalimba by U Tracy, South Africa, circa 1966. Interesting. A PJ Hardy white metal mounted piccolo, engraved, made BT PJ Hardy Elkhart. Okay, 50 to 100 on that. And we have a pearl quartz flute here, 400 to 600, with gold lip plate. Okay. Not much more information beyond that. A Game and Heart model M3 open hole flute, 150 to 250 there. Not particularly knowledgeable about flutes, I must be honest. Right, we've got a Selmer saxophone here, 3 to 4,000. It's amazing how many of these actually come up, and they're always good value. Well, I say good value, they're always quite high values. I mean, so at least they're consistent, so good things to look out for. If you find a nice Selmer saxophone, there are lower tier brands as well, which are kind of XYZ by Selmer, which aren't so valuable but interesting. Oh, something with withdrawn here, 2 to 400. The pictures are still here. Pennsylvania Special Baritone saxophone, so it's been removed for whatever reason. A Noble Paris Grenadier wood bass clarinet. Okay, you can see some bigger pictures here. We do see these occasionally at auction, 3 to 500. CG Con white metal soprano saxophone, and looks like some bits of something else with a Lucien Barcy part clarinet. Okay, interesting lot. Right, Yanagisawa soprano saxophone there. Good, pretty good make, I think. Buffet Crampon Paris clarinet, set of 2, 3 to 5,000. Yeah, interesting. Let's see if there's any more information about these. Professional serial number. I don't know a massive amount of some of these kind of professional level clarinets either to know if that is a sensible estimate, but I presume that it is. Here's some bits and pieces there. Right, we're on to some violins. Have a little bit more knowledge here. H. Macpherson 2-piece back violin, 35 centimeters, 1903 it says. Let's have a look at these pictures, 1 to 200. Yeah, I mean, it's believable. Looks like the scrolls had a bit of a break, so could well be as per the description. Another violin here. This looks like a bit like a Steiner kind of copy, like late 19th century type thing. Nothing too exciting on that, to be quite honest. This is pretty bizarre. Alexander Youngson medieval style 1-piece back violin, 2 to 300, 1974. Glasgow Clydebank there. Yeah, quite a curious looking one there. So sometimes it is good to see these smaller auctions, because you never know what's going to appear. Some curious oddities. Right, a 2-piece back violin, 35 centimeters. No other information here. Interesting F-holes there. Let's have a look at this. Kind of interesting back there. The wood, kind of curious. Kind of difficult to know what's going on. Interesting rib joints there. But yeah, nothing too crazy, I don't think. It's about 100 to 200. Fair enough, I suppose. Another violin here. This looking a bit more kind of generic-y trade instrument, I would think. Quite a lot of pictures on this for some reason. In its little case. And another violin with its neck removed. I don't think there's anything to see here. It's just a fairly standard trade instrument. Another violin with a 2-piece back. Once again, I don't think it's anything too super exciting. Let's see if there's any information about this one. Nope. No. Not much going on there. Another one of these Alexander Youngson things, 3 to 500. That seems highly optimistic. Let's have a look. Fairly nice enough kind of back there, but I just cannot see it selling for that. This is not a maker I'm particularly aware of, but prepared to be wrong as always. But that seems highly optimistic estimate, to be honest. Right, 2-piece back violin, so far looking pretty standard. Not really seeing anything of super note here, although, you know, I'm not an expert here, and there are some violins which I would just dismiss as being nothing, which may well be something. If you know, you know. I think that's the thing. People that are experts, they can tell. This once again looks fairly standard, or maybe a little bit more interesting in some ways, although in an absolutely terrible state there. It says John S. Hardy even, so it's kind of a bit more curious. John S. Hardy, Montgomery Street, Edinburgh, repaired by 50 to 100. Yeah, slightly curious. This is great. This is super interesting. 50 to 100. Part 1 piece back violin, 34 centimeters. That is quite small. Absolutely bonkers thing here. Bizarre F holes. It's kind of massive up about. Really interesting scroll though. I think it's quite an interesting looking violin, to be honest. If you can pick it up cheap enough, why not? I mean, it's probably not going to be super useful, but it's a curious kind of oddity in that regard. Right, we've got some bits and pieces of violins here. Quite a nice wood kind of back on that violin. That one as well. Kind of difficult to really see what's going on. Kind of instruments it'd be interesting to look at in person. There are some elements of this violin that I think are quite interesting. Some of the varnish were in the scroll, but it's in a terrible condition as well. So you have to bear that in mind. Interesting F-hole shape. Right, more violins. Wow, it carries on. Looks like it's been stripped, this particular violin. Looks like the original varnish has been removed. Let's see if there's any other information. No, not a lot going on there. Another curious violin. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot to go on here. All in terrible condition, all of these instruments, to be honest. Another 2-piece back violin. I think definitely a fairly low tier instrument, that one. No other information there. And a couple more violins here. This one definitely needing some attention. Also looks like it's had its varnish stripped, which is unfortunate, but does happen quite a lot. In an absolutely abysmal state there. What's the estimate there? 50 to 100. Also seems a bit optimistic here. Another violin, 100 to 200. Quite nice back on that, actually. Wonder if that has a label of some kind. Does look like it could be some kind of English violin. Let's see if there's any label at all here. No, nothing going on there, but it looks vaguely interesting. Nothing too crazy. Got Got some hair and some other bits, some frogs and stuff. Bow maker's box. Sometimes frogs and parts can be valuable, you know, if you're interested in that kind of stuff. Difficult to tell though, but one of these lots that you'd want to look at. Even sometimes some of these adjusters, this mostly looks pretty junky, but if you had some nice silver adjusters or something, it could be quite useful. On to a few bows here. Let's see, can we see anything interesting here? Not so much, but once again, bows I'm not particularly great on, being honest, so always a chance that there's interesting things that we miss. Just not seeing anything super curious. Whole load of sticks. I think you'll have trouble to know what's going on unless you look at them in person. It's kind of difficult from the pictures. A few more bows here, so there's quite a lot of things actually in this auction in a way. Not many lots, but it takes a bit of time. Not seeing anything too crazy there. Saying a white metal mounted. Looks like it's silver mounted from the tarnishing, but pictures are a bit nasty, so it's hard to say, but looks like it could be silver mounted there. 50 to 100, so one of those ones to look at in person. Let's see what this one looks like. Difficult to see there. Once again, this looks like it's probably silver, but could be wrong. Pictures are just too saturated, so I think they could work on their picture quality a bit. So it's a bow that looks like a pretty awful bow. It's got a collar as well. You see that at the end here. It's a collar. It's had a repair, so it's obviously not worked very well because it's broken again. That basically really messes with any value that it might have had, which I think was probably pretty low to start off with anyway. I don't think there's anything interesting here. Quite like this slide, that's quite nice, but otherwise I don't think there's anything of interest there. Whole load of luthier's bits and bobs apparently. Let's see if there's anything interesting here. Got some fine tuners, a load of chin rests, bridges, finished scrolls, some oils, pegs, there's some clamps and other bits here. So a whole range of bits and bobs. I'm sure someone will buy it. There's some interesting boxwood pegs in there. Probably a few bits. Bridges can be useful for some people. The stuff that luthiers collect, eh? Right. I think, are we moving on to other instruments now? Yeah, perfect. Oh, there's some bow case things there. Always popular. A Selma Invicta Moderna 48 bass 34 key piano accordion there, 100 to 200. We've got an Alvari accordion there with a Sicilian flatback mandolin by Alfredo Albertini. See, are there any other pictures there of this mandolin? Okay. Right, another accordion here. A Cavagnolo Odyssey reedless 121 bass accordion. There's some other bits here. An expander, okay. Right. There's another expander here. Wems Watkins MIDI partner accordion sound module. Okay, with a Fostex foot switch. I've never seen this before, so that's pretty interesting. I didn't even know that Wem made stuff like that, so that's interesting. And we've got a live performer MIDI controller thing or whatever. Then a Galotta accordion again, so 2 to 400. So that appears to be all of the musical instruments. A few odd violin related stuff. Otherwise some pretty general things, I suppose. Looks like there might be a nice saxophone, but maybe nice clarinets, etc. I quite like this military drum. A couple of or at least one Gibson guitar that's pretty good. So a pretty random collection of things really. So yeah, this is finishing tomorrow. I'll put a link in the description, check it out and see what you think. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll catch you next time. Bye.